Help me. I've been poisoned. The words scraped from the man's throat as he staggered against Rose's counter. His immaculate charcoal suit catching the merciless glare of fluorescent lights. Keisha Morgan's hands reacted before her brain could process, pressing 2 fingers against his carotid, angling his head back, searching for the telltale symptoms she'd memorized in field hospitals under desert stars half a world away. "Sir, look at me." Her voice emerged calm, clinical, revealing nothing of the fear flooding her nervous system. "What did you take?" His eyes, midnight black and piercing even through the haze of death, locked onto hers with fierce desperation. "My own family poisoned me." His hand shot out, grip shockingly strong around her wrist. "Don't call anyone. They'll finish it." Every survival instinct Keisha possessed screamed danger. The exact kind of danger that got soldiers killed in places they shouldn't be. The kind she'd sworn she'd never face again after everything collapsed. But she noticed the cyanotic blue spreading across his lips, the way his chest labored with irregular desperation, the cold sweat that signaled systems failing. Whatever lies this man might be telling, his body spoke only truth. He was dying. And 3 years ago, before the military destroyed her career and deleted her existence, she'd taken an oath that still mattered to her. "Marcus." She shouted toward the kitchen, her waitress mask shattering like fragile glass. "Activated charcoal from the emergency kit and your EpiPen. Right now." The cook's confused face appeared in the service window. But Keisha was already in motion, her hands working with the muscle memory of hundreds of combat emergencies. She grabbed the supplies, dropping to her knees beside the stranger who smelled of expensive aftershave and approaching death. "This will hurt," she warned, uncapping the injector. "Everything already hurts," he managed, and she drove the needle through his designer slacks into his thigh. The response wasn't immediate like movies portrayed. It crawled through him slowly, airways opening millimeter by millimeter, the blue retreating from his lips like a tide pulling back. His breathing steadied gradually. His eyes found clarity. And in that clarity, Keisha saw something that made her blood turn to ice. Recognition. Not of her face, but of what she'd just performed. Professional recognition. "You're military," he whispered. Not a question. Before she could answer, the diner door burst inward. 3 men in tactical gear stormed through, their movements coordinated and lethal. But it wasn't their weapons that stopped Keisha's heart. It was the face of the man commanding them. Special Agent Theodore Moss. The man who'd destroyed her sexual assault report. The man who'd shoved her into witness protection to silence her forever. The man who, according to every official document, had zero knowledge of where she was hiding. Time froze into a single horrifying moment of understanding. Moss's eyes met hers across the diner, and she watched his face shift from shock to ruthless calculation. The dying man followed her stare, then looked back at her with sudden comprehension. "You know him," Park Joon-ho said quietly. "You're supposed to be dead," Moss replied, weapon already raised and aimed at Joon-ho's head. "That creates complications." Keisha's hand found the coffee pot on the burner behind her, still boiling from the 3 a.m. shift. She didn't hesitate. Hesitation killed people. She acted. The pot left her hand in a smooth arc, coffee exploding like liquid fire. Moss jerked sideways, weapon firing into the ceiling panels. Joon-ho launched from the floor, tackling the closest agent with shocking strength for a man who'd been dying moments ago. Keisha vaulted the counter, seized Marcus's shotgun from its concealed spot beneath the register, a position she'd memorized her first shift 3 years ago because paranoia kept you alive, and fired a warning blast into the vintage jukebox. "Move," she screamed at Joon-ho, and they burst through the kitchen's swinging doors. The Chicago night struck them like a hammer, freezing November rain and the stench of garbage from the alley bins. Behind them, Moss's voice barked orders. Boots hammered linoleum. Keisha's hands located the delivery van she'd watched the supply guy park sloppily, keys still dangling in the ignition because this was the kind of area where nobody stole delivery vans. Army training said hot wiring was a final option. This felt like the definition of final option. "Can you drive?" Joon-ho asked, leaning hard against the van's side. His expensive coat drenched through. "Can you navigate?" She fired back, door already swinging open. He hauled himself into the passenger seat with obvious effort, producing a phone with hands that still shook. Head south. I'll guide you. The engine coughed to life with a grinding noise. In the rear view, Keisha caught Moss and his team exploding through the rear entrance, weapons up. She floored it. Bullets ricocheted off metal. The van skidded around the corner onto State Street, tires shrieking. Keisha's knuckles were bone white on the wheel. Her heart pounding a rhythm she remembered from supply runs in Kandahar. Survive, survive, survive. Who are you running from? She demanded, taking a violent turn that made Junho grab the dashboard. His head lolled against the seat, face still deathly pale despite the epinephrine flooding his system. The FBI, Korean organized crime, choose one. He managed something that might have been a smile. Park Junho. Some call me the dragon, and I need your help staying alive long enough to discover which of my own blood just tried to execute me. Keisha's stomach plummeted through the floor of the stolen delivery van. She just rescued and was now escaping with one of Chicago's most infamous crime bosses, a man whose reputation appeared in terrified whispers even in her run-down witness protection neighborhood. Take the expressway exit, Junho instructed, tapping something on his phone with graceful, steadying fingers that suggested rapid recovery. My estate is fortified, guarded. The only location I can trust at the moment. The weight of her situation crashed over Keisha like a collapsing building. Her entire meticulously constructed existence, the waitress identity, the cramped apartment she shared with Mariana, the nursing program applications, the fragile hope of eventually perhaps rebuilding something authentic, all of it had just exploded in 90 seconds of violence and impossible decisions. She'd saved a man she didn't know, fled from a man she knew too intimately, and stolen a van full of bakery goods. The absurdity would have been hilarious if bullets weren't still echoing in her skull. You could have abandoned me, Junho said quietly, studying her with an intensity that felt like being dissected. Most people would have called emergency services and disappeared, especially after witnessing those men. Keisha kept her focus on the rain-soaked road, on the expressway stretching ahead into darkness. I'm studying to be a nurse, she said, as if that explained everything. As if it explained why a former army medic in witness protection had just destroyed 3 years of careful invisibility to rescue a man who might be more lethal than the one hunting them. The city lights reflected off the slick asphalt like fallen stars that had shattered. Ahead, through the rain and mist, lay Junho's universe. A universe she'd just been yanked into without warning, without permission, without any route back to the life she'd been attempting to construct from the ruins of the one Moss obliterated. She thought of Mariana, probably conscious now, questioning why she hadn't returned from her shift. She thought of her apartment, her textbooks, her carefully guarded anonymity. All of it felt impossibly distant. Estate is 3 miles, Junho said, his voice gaining strength. Gate code is 7429. Security will identify the vehicle. I have cameras on every access point. Naturally, Keisha muttered. You rescued my life tonight, he continued. That carries weight in my world. It means you're under my shield now, whether you accept it or not. What if I refuse it? Then you're welcome to return to that diner and justify to Agent Moss why you assisted my escape. His tone was almost tender. But we both understand that's not truly an option anymore. He was correct. Heaven help her, he was correct. The gates materialized through the fog, towering iron structures that whispered wealth and authority and darkness. They opened soundlessly as the van approached, and Keisha drove through into another realm entirely. A realm she couldn't exit. A realm that might destroy her. A realm that somehow felt less like imprisonment than the one she'd just abandoned. Welcome back, my beautiful souls and fearless wanderers of the shadows. Before we plunge into this tempest of loyalty, treachery, and love forged in blood, smash that subscribe button, hit like, and drop in the comments where you're watching from. Every click, every share, every pulse of support keeps our stories breathing in the darkness. Now, take a breath, steel your nerves, and walk with me into a world where justice bleeds, secrets ignite, and survival demands everything. The estate's medical suite smelled of disinfectant and ancient wealth, leather mingled with sterile gauze, mahogany underlying the metallic scent of blood. Keisha's hands moved with precision she'd earned in sand and scorching heat, monitoring Junho's vitals while he drifted between consciousness and unconsciousness on the examination table. His pulse was more stable now. The epinephrine had purchased him time, but time was all it had purchased. "Your name," he murmured, eyes remaining closed. "You never mentioned it." Keisha. The deception came naturally because it wasn't entirely a deception, just incomplete. She pressed 2 fingers to his wrist, counting heartbeats. "And your Park Junho. Some call you the dragon." His laugh was parched, fragile. "You've heard the stories. I've heard the name." She adjusted the 4 drip one of his guards had silently provided, medical quality, not cheap equipment. Everything here spoke of resources and preparation. "Don't know if I credit the legends." "Which legends?" His eyes opened, dark and focused despite the toxin still working through his system. "That I control the Korean syndicate across 3 states. That I've murdered men with my bare hands. That I'm beyond reach." Keisha met his stare without wavering. "That you're worth saving." The silence between them carried gravity. Outside the medical suite, she could hear activity, footsteps on polished stone, hushed voices mixing Korean and English. Junho's empire, massive and disciplined, closing in from every direction. "The man who burst through that diner entrance," Junho said quietly. "Theodore Moss. You know him." Her hands froze on the blood pressure monitor. Every muscle in her body locked rigid, and she knew he registered it, registered the way his name tore her open. "Special Agent Theodore Moss," she corrected, her voice empty. "FBI, pristine record, decorated career. The kind of man who testifies before Congress about organized crime while operating his own schemes in the shadows. You sound like you've researched him thoroughly." "I survived him." The words escaped before she could contain them. Keisha turned away, occupying herself with medical supplies she didn't require. In her boot, pressed against her instep, the laminated military ID felt like a weapon. "Specialist Keisha Morgan, dishonorable discharge." The words that had unmade her entire existence. "He's the one who forced you into witness protection. He's the one who made it mandatory." Her jaw clenched. "After he ensured my assault report vanished. After he guaranteed the man who attacked me got reassigned with commendations. After he made absolutely clear that if I didn't disappear quietly, I'd disappear permanently." The confession floated in the air like smoke. Keisha had never spoken it aloud to anyone except the therapist the witness protection program assigned her, a woman who documented everything in precise clinical notes that probably existed in a file somewhere, ammunition for anyone who wanted to destroy her credibility. "And now he's witnessed you," Junho observed. His voice carried something she couldn't quite identify. Not pity. Something sharper. Understanding perhaps, or strategy. "Now I'm finished either way." She turned back to confront him. "He can't permit me to survive knowing he's connected with whoever attempted to kill you. Which means you need to reveal who poisoned you and why Moss wants you eliminated." Junho reached into his jacket, the movement deliberate, calculated, giving her time to react if she suspected he was reaching for a weapon. Instead, he extracted a cheap glass vial, half full, the kind you'd find in any street transaction. "This was in my scotch at the establishment. Tetrodotoxin if my assessment is accurate. Pufferfish toxin. Costly, exotic, virtually impossible to trace." He held it up to the light. The kind of selection that communicates professional and intimate simultaneously. "You have adversaries who'd invest that effort. I have adversaries who'd invest considerably more effort than that." He pocketed the vial. "But they don't typically have FBI operatives managing cleanup. That's unprecedented." Keisha processed this, medical training transitioning to tactical evaluation. "Someone within your organization negotiated a deal with Moss. Surrendered you in exchange for something. Protection likely or leverage." Junho sat up gradually, and she moved to stabilize him by reflex. His hand caught hers. Not restraining, just connecting. His skin was warm now, fever generated from fighting poison. "Theodore Moss commands the Korean Organized Crime Task Force. He possesses files on everyone in my universe. Identities, locations, vulnerabilities. He's promising immunity to whoever delivers me. And eliminating loose ends, Junho's thumb traced a small circle on her wrist, probably unconscious, probably deliberate. Like witnesses who observed too much in diners. The magnitude of it settled over her. The trap that had closed the instant she'd reached for that coffee pot. She'd saved his life and sealed her own destiny in the same action. "You're proposing protection," she said. "Not a question. I'm proposing survival." He released her hand but maintained her gaze. "You rescued me because you couldn't prevent yourself, because some fragment of you still believes in oaths and honor even after everything that's been stripped from you. Now you're in my conflict whether you choose to be or not. I don't choose to be anyone's instrument." "Excellent. I don't require instruments. I require someone I can trust." He stood more stable now, and she watched him transform. The dying man becoming something else, something dangerous and controlled. "Moss perceives you as a weakness. Let's transform you into a weapon instead." In the corridor beyond, she heard Taemin, the scarred lieutenant she'd glimpsed earlier, issuing quiet commands. Transport, secure location. Mariana's name spoken in careful, measured tones that made Keisha's blood freeze. "My roommate," she said sharply. "Mariana. Where is she?" "Secure." Junho interrupted her. "I had operatives deliver her medications an hour ago. Informed her you'd been summoned for a family crisis. She's being monitored but not endangered." The casual demonstration of control made her want to strike him, but the practical part of her brain, the part that had kept her breathing through deployments and betrayal, recognized the necessity. If Moss knew where she resided, Mariana was already at risk. "I need to contact her in the morning. After we've repositioned you appropriately." Junho moved toward the entrance, then hesitated. "The estate has everything you'll require. Miss Choi will escort you to your accommodations. Tempt to rest. Tomorrow we begin hunting whoever attempted to murder me. And what makes you believe I want to assist you hunting?" He looked back at her, and something in his expression made her breathing catch. Not manipulation. She'd learned to recognize manipulation. This was raw, authentic perhaps, in the way only desperate individuals could be authentic. "Because whoever's collaborating with Moss painted targets on both our backs. Because you're trained to combat and you've been fleeing for 3 years. And because he stopped recalibrated. Because you and I both understand what it feels like to be betrayed by those who were supposed to shield us." The truth of it penetrated every defense she'd constructed. Keisha wanted to protest, wanted to refuse, wanted to walk out into the Chicago night and vanish the way she'd been trained to vanish. But she thought of Moss's face in that diner, the cold calculation in his eyes when he'd identified her. She thought of Mariana, innocent and ill and trusting. She thought of the laminated ID in her boot and the oath she'd taken before everything had disintegrated. "One stipulation," she said. "We execute this my way. I'm not ornamentation. I'm not security detail. If I'm in your conflict, I'm a soldier, not a captive." Junho's smile was sharp enough to draw blood. "I wouldn't desire you any other way, Specialist Morgan." Her heart stopped. She hadn't revealed her rank. He registered her realization and didn't apologize for it. "I have resources. I utilize them. If we're going to survive this, I need to understand who I'm working with." He opened the entrance, and the corridor's cold air rushed in. "And for whatever value it holds, I read the report. The authentic one, the one Moss buried. I'm sorry for what occurred to you." Then he was gone, and Keisha was alone in the medical suite with the smell of disinfectant and the sound of her own ragged breathing. She extracted the ID from her boot and stared at the photograph. Younger, optimistic, still believing the uniform represented something. That woman felt like a phantom. Outside, through the bulletproof glass, she saw a security monitor flicker. And there, in grainy black and white, was Mariana's apartment building. The camera angle was recent, professional. Someone had been surveilling. Keisha folded the ID carefully and tucked it back into her boot. Then she walked toward whatever awaited, because retreat had never been her strength, and if she was going to burn, she'd burn on her own terms. The entrance closed behind her with a sound like a cell ceiling shut. Miss Choi materialized from the shadows like something summoned, older, impeccably dressed in charcoal that suggested authority without uniform. Her eyes catalogued Keisha with clinical efficiency, the borrowed clothes, the defensive stance, the way her gaze tracked every exit. This way. No warmth, no judgment either. Just the smooth, practiced neutrality of someone who'd escorted countless strangers through these corridors and learned not to question their stories. The mansion revealed itself in phases. First, the medical suite's sterile functionality. Then a corridor of polished hardwood where their footsteps echoed like gunfire. Portraits lined the walls. Men in traditional Korean dress. Women with eyes that pursued. Children who appeared as if they'd never experienced joy. Ancestry or warning, Keisha couldn't determine. The air smelled different here than anywhere she'd existed in 3 years. Not just clean but orchestrated. Leather and cedar, something that might have been orchid, the faint metallic undertone of expensive security systems humming behind walls. Every surface gleamed. Every corner contained deliberate shadow. Wealth, yes, but more than that, dominance. This was a location where nothing occurred by accident. Your accommodations, Miss Choi announced, opening an entrance that probably cost more than Keisha's entire witness protection allowance. The room stole her breath. Not because of the chandelier, though that suspended like crystallized starlight, or the bed that could accommodate 4, or the vista of Chicago's skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. It was the contrast, the violence of luxury pressed against the memory of her cramped apartment, the diner's flickering neon, the careful rationing of every dollar. There are garments in the closet, your measurements. Miss Choi gestured with one elegant hand. Bathroom through that entrance. Security protocols are straightforward. Don't leave this level without escort. Don't attempt to access restricted rooms. Don't contact the windows. Are they wired? A flicker of something, approval perhaps, crossed Miss Choi's face. Pressure sensors, bulletproof glass. You'd survive a fall, but the alarm would alert everyone within 3 blocks. Useful to know I'm a guest and not a prisoner. Mr. Park prefers the term protected asset. Miss Choi moved toward the entrance. Someone will deliver dinner shortly. I suggest you consume it. Tomorrow begins early. She departed before Keisha could formulate a response. The entrance didn't lock, at least not from the outside. Small mercy or calculated psychology? Keisha wasn't certain. Alone, she explored the space like she'd been trained to assess hostile territory. The closet contained garments in her exact measurements. Jeans, soft shirts, a leather jacket that fit like it had been crafted for her body. Probably had been. Junho's resources apparently extended to rapid custom tailoring. The bathroom was marble and gold fixtures. Heated floors that made her feet ache after years of cheap linoleum. She caught her reflection. Exhausted, wild-eyed, still wearing the diner uniform with its coffee stains and blood smears. Evidence of the existence she'd been inhabiting 2 hours ago. She stripped, showered in water hot enough to scald, and tried not to contemplate what it cost to maintain a location like this, tried not to calculate the monthly expenses against her own desperate accounting, every penny stretched until it screamed. When she emerged, someone had left a tray. Not institution food. Real dinner. Grilled fish, rice with something green she didn't identify, fruit that resembled art. She ate mechanically, fueling the machine of her body while her mind cycled through tactical scenarios. Junho's mansion wasn't just a residence. It was a stronghold. She'd counted cameras, mapped the guards' rotations from shadows and sounds, noted the reinforced door frames and the faint electrical hum that suggested backup generators. This was a location constructed to withstand assault, which meant Junho existed expecting one. A knock interrupted her analysis. Not Miss Choi. The footsteps were heavier, male assured. Keisha moved to the entrance, every muscle coiled. Taemin stood in the corridor. His scarred face expressionless. Mr. Park requests your presence. Library 3rd level. And if I decline, then I remain here until you reconsider. No threat in his tone, just reality. Keisha grabbed the leather jacket. Better to have pockets, layers, something between her skin and whatever awaited, and followed. The library made the bedroom appear modest. Books climbed to a ceiling she couldn't see in the dim light. Leather spines and guild titles in Korean, English, Chinese. A fire crackled in a hearth wide enough to roast a pig. And in a leather chair that appeared older than the structure, Junho sat with a medical textbook open on his lap. He'd changed. Dark shirt, tailored pants, hair still damp from his own shower. The poison's pallor had faded, replaced by sharp alertness. He appeared like what he was. Dangerous, controlled, absolutely in his element. Anatomy and Physiology, 7th edition, he said, holding up the textbook. You were studying this. Nursing program application. Keisha remained near the entrance, maintaining distance. Before tonight demolished that plan. Why nursing? You were a combat medic. Could have pursued military contractor, security consulting, superior compensation. I took an oath to heal individuals, not to devise more efficient methods to eliminate them. She crossed her arms. You didn't summon me here to discuss my career trajectory. Junho closed the book carefully, marking his location. I summoned you here because I need you to comprehend something. This residence. He gestured at the opulence surrounding them. It's not comfort. It's armor. Every piece of furniture is positioned for sightlines. Every window is bulletproof. Every entrance has 3 backup locks and armed guards on rotation. I exist in a very beautiful prison because the alternative is a very ugly grave. You want sympathy. I want context. He stood, moving closer. Not threatening, just closing the distance between them with deliberate intention. You believe I'm a monster. Perhaps I am. But I'm a monster who maintains 500 individuals employed, who ensures their children receive scholarships, who guarantees nobody in my territory experiences hunger or lacks protection. Moss desires me eliminated because I'm an inconvenience to his actual business, which is selling intelligence to the highest bidder while wearing a badge. Keisha studied him, searching for the deception, found only truth or something close enough to pass. What do you desire from me? I desire you to assist me in locating whoever poisoned me before they attempt again. In return, I'll assist you in destroying Theodore Moss. The proposition hung between them like a weapon. Everything she desired for 3 years. Revenge, justice, vindication, wrapped in a devil's bargain. I need to contact Mariana. She extracted her phone, the burner she'd kept charged and concealed for emergencies. Junho nodded once. Taemin, still hovering by the entrance, vanished silently. The call connected after 2 rings. Mariana's voice, sleep-rough and confused. Keisha, where are you? Some men delivered my medications and mentioned you'd had a family crisis. I'm fine. Something occurred at work. I'm staying with, she hesitated, looking at Junho. Friend, I'll explain everything tomorrow, but I need you to execute something for me. Bae. Mariana sounded more alert now, concern sharpening her words. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. But if anyone arrives asking about me, anyone, you don't know anything. You inform them I relocated last week. You inform them we barely communicated. Can you execute that? Silence. Then Keisha, you're frightening me. Understand. Sorry. Just trust me. I'll contact you in the morning. She terminated the call before Mariana could ask more questions, before the fear in her friend's voice could fracture the armor she'd wrapped around herself. When she looked up, Junho was observing her with an expression she couldn't interpret. You care about her, he said. Your roommate. She's ill. Lupus. She can't work full-time, and her family disowned her when she came out. Cover most of the rent. Keisha pocketed the phone. So yes, I care about her, which means if this conflict of yours endangers her. It won't. Junho's voice carried absolute certainty. I've already assigned protection. Discreet. She'll never know they're present. You're controlling her existence without asking. I'm preserving her alive without burdening her with fear. He moved to the window, looking out at the city lights. There's a distinction. Keisha wanted to argue, wanted to rage against his casual assumption of authority over people's safety. But she'd interpreted the tactical situation the instant Moss had walked through that diner entrance. Mariana was already in danger. Junho's protection, unwanted, paternalistic, infuriating, was also necessary. Demonstrate, she said instead. Demonstrate your security feeds. Demonstrate whoever's surveilling my apartment. If I'm going to be your partner in this, I need to see the complete board. Something shifted in Junho's expression. Respect perhaps, or recognition of a kindred tactical mind. He pressed something on his phone, and a panel in the wall slid open. Behind it, monitors, dozens of them, camera feeds from across the city, scrolling data, maps with glowing points that probably indicated assets or threats. And there, in the lower right corner, Mariana's building. The camera angle was effective, professional, not concealed but not obvious either. As Keisha observed, a figure moved into frame. Not Mariana. Someone else. Male, dark jacket. Looking up at the windows with deliberate attention. Who is that? Her voice emerged sharp. Junho's jaw tightened. I don't know, but he materialized 10 minutes after we arrived. Taemin's operatives are tracking him now. The figure produced a phone, made a call, then walked out of frame. Casual, unhurried. The kind of confidence that originated from knowing you were observed and not caring. Keisha said. He's already mobilizing. He's establishing surveillance, testing our response. Junho pulled up another camera angle, this one displaying a different street, different watchers. He possesses at least 4 teams surrounding that structure. Whatever he's planning, it initiates there. Keisha's heart was hammering, but her mind remained cold, tactical. This was the field again, just different terrain. Then we relocate her tonight, before he decides direct action is cleaner than surveillance. Already being arranged. Miss Choi is coordinating a secure location. Medical-grade apartment. Fully stocked with her medications. She'll wake tomorrow believing a hospital program placed her there temporarily while they debug electrical issues at her structure. You're proficient at this, making individuals disappear. I've had practice. Junho turned away from the monitors, and when he looked at her, she saw exhaustion behind the control. The poison had extracted more from him than